On this episode, we dive deep into exactly what it takes to change, what it takes, what kind of work you have to do on yourself, and how to do it if you actually want to get from A to Z. If you actually want to go from wherever you're at, maybe you're selling 10 homes a year and you want to get to 100. Well, here's what's actually required. We're going to break it down, and we're going to hear a story of my dear friend Neil Mathweg, one of the greatest coaches in real estate. He's going to talk a lot about his personal journey. He's lost over 100 pounds in the last year, making a simple adjustment that can change absolutely everything for everyone listening. What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 276 of the Massive Agent Podcast. One hell of a show today. We're diving deep. If you guys loved the episode with Dustin a month or two ago about doing the deep work, this is kind of along the same vein. We're really going to talk about how to think, how to reprogram your thinking, exactly what you need to do, the questions you need to ask yourself that will fuel the results, that will fuel the growth, that will fuel the change. This is real shit that we talk about today. And Neil Mathweg is back on the show. He was on episode 176. So 100 episodes ago was the last time Neil Mathweg was on the show. He is the host of the Agent Rise podcast. He is putting on the Agent Rise Summit in Fort Myers, Florida this May, which I will be at. I will be participating in, speaking in. I'll be there to actually learn and do the work. So please come join me there. And we'll have some information. We talked about the Agent Rise Summit, but if you just want to jump right into it, agentrisecoaching.com/summit, because I think there's only like 20 seats left or something for that. So you're going to want to be there because I'm telling you, it is a workshop that will transform your life, in your business, in your income for sure. That's why I'm going. So anyhow, if you are a new listener to the show, welcome. My name is Dustin Brohm, your host. I'm an agent here in Salt Lake City, Utah, where on April 3rd, it is frickin' snowing. It has snowed about 6 or 7 inches on April 3rd. My daughter's preschool was closed today. Yeah, not an April Fool's joke. They had a snow day in April in Utah, for God's sakes. So I am very excited for summer. Let's just say that. Anyhow, welcome to the show, the number one podcast for real estate agents on the planet. Not really sure if that's accurate, but go ahead and fact check me. I just like the sound of it. So there we go. The number one show for real estate agents. I mean, we're top 3. So it depends on how you slice it. But you're in the right place. If you are an agent who's wanting to grow, who's wanting to really jump up another level or 2 or 3, this is the show for you. Okay, we're not just going to give you tactics. We're not just going to tell you, hey, run these ads, or here's why Zillow works, or this is real work. Today's episode especially, this is real shit. This will benefit your life. This will benefit your relationships. This will benefit your income. This will benefit your children and the relationship you have with them and the habits they build for themselves. This is real shit. Neil Mathweg is back on the show. He is one of the people I love most in this industry. He is such a great human. He is such a great leader. He is such a great coach. He is a great business partner. And I've seen him make a huge impact in a lot of the agents who are part of our team, because we work together as business partners. We're part of the same team. So if you're part of our team, you get Neil, you get me as partners. It's kind of cool. But this is just a really impactful episode. So let's get into it as soon as possible. Real quick, this is the last week to get $500 off our Massive Agent Society membership. That discount's going to be expiring soon. So all you need to do is go to massiveagentsociety.com and use promo code SPRING500 in the checkout, and you'll get $500 off. One of our newest agents actually just got a buyer from his very first video that he posted from the Society's 7-day social media jumpstart. The first video got him a buyer, and he's had more conversations since with people. So pretty cool. The stories that come out of our group lately have just been fire. The results that are happening, the caliber of agents we're getting in there. This is a group that you need to be a part of. Rather than dropping 10 grand or 30 grand or more on a mastermind to be around agents who are going to better you and pull you forward, you can just join the society. Much more cost effective and equally, if not more so, powerful this is a group you need to be a part of. If you are a longtime listener of the show, if you are a fan of the show, if you like the way I train, if you like the way that I deliver information and teach, this is an extension of that. You need to be part of the group. So I urge you to join the Massive Agent Society. I invite you personally, come join the Massive Agent Society. Make the investment in yourself. You are absolutely worth it. MassiveAgentSociety.com, and use Spring 500 as the promo code to get $500 off when you commit for a year. And lastly, I'm actually giving away a free membership for a whole year to the Massive Agent Society. I am giving away a free month of one-on-one private coaching, which is $3,000. Giving that away for free, and a Zoom training with my mentor Clayton Gitz that sells 800 homes a year. He has like 50 agents and staff now. I can't keep track anymore. But he works 2 hours a month. He's built an actual real estate business that spits off 7 figures in income, and he's one of the greatest mentors I've ever had, and he's going to be on this Zoom training we're going to do. My good friend Phil Treadwell is going to be on this call as well. He's had an incredible physical and mental transformation himself. He's going to be part of this call. And I'm giving all this away because I need your help to raise $100,000 for LLS, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I have teamed up with to raise $100,000. That's a goal that I set. That's a bar that I set. It scares the shit out of me because it's such a high bar. But I know the caliber of you, the people, the agents who listen to the show. I need your help. I need your donation. I need you to please contribute as much as you possibly can. Maybe that's $20. Maybe it's $2,000. I don't know what that is. But I ask you to please help me to raise money for this amazing organization because they are funding the research to end childhood blood cancer, leukemia, lymphoma. If you've ever had someone that you're close to or know someone who's had a type of blood cancer, incredibly tough. And for kids, a lot of the kids that pass away from blood cancer do so because of how harsh the treatment is. They don't have treatments for kids. There is no treatment for kids. So they're giving adult doses, adult treatment to kids, and that's what's killing them. Not all of them, but it's a problem. And only 4% of the budget from the National Cancer Institute is devoted to finding a cure for childhood blood cancer. That's where we're stepping in. I heard that and it freaking pissed me off. It just pissed me off. I am the father of 2 young kids that I love very, very much. I cannot imagine. I'll just leave it at that. I can't imagine. So damn it, we're doing something about it. Please go to massivegiving.com. massivegiving.com. Watch the video on there. I explain a little bit more. I explain what I'm giving away, how you can enter to win, all of that stuff. Please, if you, whether this is your first time listening or you listen every week, if I've ever provided any value to you whatsoever, if you've ever liked one of my videos on Instagram or anything, please, I ask of you, go to massivegiving.com and watch the video. That's all I ask. And if you feel inspired to give, please do. But this is very important to me, and this is something I'm going to be really pushing hard for between now and June 2nd, which is the deadline to raise $100,000. What's cool is we've raised over $1,000 just in the last 24 hours, and I know we can do this, but we need your help. We can't have you sitting on the sidelines. So please go to massivegiving.com and check it out. If you feel like you're being pulled in a bunch of different directions and that you don't really have a business, I'm telling you, you need Follow Up Boss. They are the CRM and business growth platform that all the top agents are using. The vast majority of the agents in our industry are using Follow Up Boss. It's not a coincidence. You need to see for yourself why that is and how Follow Up Boss can help you put the systems in place, have the drip campaigns, have the tracking, have the action plans, all the stuff that you don't even know you need. They have for you. They have an incredible mobile app. It's an actual app, not just like a mobile-friendly website like most of them. And they will give you a 30-day free trial. Just because you're a listener of the Massive Agent podcast, they will give you a 30-day free trial. They don't even ask for your credit card. All you need to do is go to massiveagentpodcast.com/follow-up boss to start your trial. And lastly, a shout out to Keeping Current Matters. These guys help me look smart. These guys help a lot of agents who you may think are smart look smart because they do all the research. They dissect all the news and economic data, and they interpret it, and they're like, hey, here's what you need to know. Here's what's coming. Here's what it means. Here's what your clients need to do. And then our job is to communicate that to our clients. KCM, Keeping Current Matters, they make it very, very simple. And you can get a free trial of KCM today by going to trykcm.com/bam. Let's jump into our talk right now with Neil Mathweg. Absolutely incredible. This is one you're going to want to listen to all the way to the end. And make sure, for God's sakes, you join us in Fort Myers, Florida for the Agent Rise Summit. Enjoy. What's up, guys? I'm here with Neil Mathweg. I think this is your 4th or 5th time on the show now. So glad to have you. So much has happened in your life, in your career since you were on the show last. And we looked it up just prior. May of 2021 is when you were on the show last. And you were RVing around the country with your family. You had sold your house, sold all your shit, and were living a pretty cool lifestyle. And so much has changed since then. So, and you've done some pretty big upgrades, if you will, on yourself since you've been on the show last. So Neil Mathweg, one of my favorite people in real estate, one of my favorite people on the planet. Welcome back to the Massive Agent Podcast.
Oh, it's so great to be here, my friend. Thank you for having me. And boy, has things ever changed. And I can't wait to share it all today. And the things that have changed in my life, I think are going to be an impact for those that are listening today.
Agree 1,000%. So, you posted on Facebook earlier today some photos. One of them was from August 2021, and one of them was from just now, right?
Right.
You've lost 100 pounds.
Yes.
You've lost 100 pounds. And without dieting, is that right?
Yes. See, so I've lost 100 pounds before. And in fact, I've done it 2-3 different times in my life. I think this is my 4th time I've done it. But
Are you serious?
The thing. Yeah. And because I've always had that self-determination, right? I always realized that there was something that I needed to, like, this isn't good, right? Like I know this isn't good. I look in the mirror and I see it. I know this isn't good, right? And the weight that I was getting to, almost 400 pounds. And here's the thing is all the other times that I lost weight, I did it by subscribing to a diet. I did it by, grabbing a hold of Weight Watchers or Atkins or, whatever the trend was, right? Or keto or whatever it was, right? I would grab a hold of that diet. I would grab a hold of a trainer, and I would force myself into it, right? And I would just do everything that I could, I gotta do this. And it would annoy me when people would say it's a lifestyle change. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a diet. I don't care how you say it. It's a diet. And I hated dieting, and I hated it. And so it got to this place too in my life where I hated it so much and talking about it so much, it just drove me crazy because I had done it all. Oh, you got to try this. You got to do this. You got to do that. Right. I tried it all, and I would lose the weight. It would always work, but then I'd always gain it back. And it was just a constant battle in my life. So it was in January of 2022. All right. I had this thought I was studying confirmation biases. And what this is just whenever you have a bias around something, you're going to do everything you can to confirm that bias. And that's what I was doing with my weight. I looked back on it and I thought every time, I just believed that I was big boned. I believed that, some people in my family are big, therefore I'm going to be big. I believed that I lost weight before and I gained it back. Somebody told me that I had a thyroid issue. I had all these limiting beliefs. I had all these things that were standing in my way to make me believe that I couldn't lose weight. And I was trapped in there. That was the bias that I kept confirming. And I said, well, what if I were to change that bias? What if I were to look at this a little bit differently? What would that look like if I were to change that? And so then I started writing down, I just asked myself the simple question, what do healthy people do? What do healthy people do? And I just started writing down all of the attributes that I seen in my life or I see when I think of a healthy person. And I was at the time, I was in the RV park and I was just sitting around. I was thinking about healthy people and Brandon and Melissa's a couple that were right next to me in the RV park and they're very, very healthy, outgoing. So I just started thinking about what do they do? And I noticed that they're always carrying water bottles with them and they always got their Fitbit on and they're keeping track of their steps and they're either jogging or running or lifting weights and they're always moving. And one night, one thing really stood out at me we were sitting around a campfire and it was 8:00 and he looked at his watch and he goes, it's bedtime. Got to go to bed. And I'm like, bro, it's 8:00. You're what?
Right, you just woke up from a nap.
Right. I'm like, we're just getting started. What are you doing? Right. But that's what healthy people do, right? He has a bedtime. He doesn't need a morning alarm because he sets a bedtime alarm. And that's what healthy people do. He cherishes his sleep. He knows his sleep is important. So again, I just started coming up with a list of all the things that I think healthy people do. And some of them have beliefs in themselves, whatever, but I come up with this list of all the things that healthy people do. And then I just started saying, I'm going to be what I want to become. I'm going to be who I want to become. I want to be a healthy person. I'm going to start being a healthy person. And I started everything that I do, everything I look at. Is this what healthy people do? Yep. Healthy people do it. That's what I do. I noticed that healthy people eat small portions. I noticed healthy people, they don't go to a restaurant and just pig out. They select healthy foods. They think about it. They ask questions. They are always asking the server questions. Does the food have this in it? How is this made? Right? They're thinking about it. Right? And so I'm like, how can I do what healthy people do? So I'm not on a diet. I don't diet. I just do what healthy people do. Every time I sit down for a meal, I think about it. What does a healthy person do? And I must say it 100 times a day now. What does a healthy person do? Because in order for me to be who I want to become, I got to start being healthy. And you can take this and you can go into being healthy. And that's why I say this works for business as well, right? Being who you want to become. If you want to be more of a confident person, think about that confident person that you really know. What are their attributes? What do you really respect about them? How do they function? When they have something tragic going on in their life, how do they respond? When they are met with adversity, how do they respond? Right? Like, what is it? How do they function? And just become aware of that and start writing all that down. And the best thing with all of this, and this is one of the things we're going to do at the Agent Rise Summit is when you do this in a group setting and you have a list of everybody's opinion, when they think of, let's say, a confident person, and you got everybody piling ideas onto that, you come up with the recipe of who you need to start becoming. Now the challenge with it, though, that becomes is then how do I do that? Now that sounds really too simple, right? Like, that's too simple. That's the thing, is it is really simple. And you just simply ask yourself, right? I just start being who I want to become. And you might have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit too,
Of course. Oh,
yeah.
Of course. I think when people hear simple, they equate that with easy. It's not necessarily easy, at least in the moment it may not be. Overall, some of these actions that you talked about probably become easy, but they're simple. It's really, losing weight is simple. You burn more calories than you consume. That's it. Like, that's how you burn fat. Yep. Now, there's a trillion different ways to go about that, but there doesn't have to be, right? And
right.
Same with business. I love how you thought about your neighbors who are super fit, and you're like, what would they do in this situation? This is so timely, Neil, because in the society calls, the last couple of weeks, we've talked about asking yourself a question in business settings. What would the CEO do? Because so many agents want to have a business, yet they are owning their own jobs. They're running around like the employee within their own company, and they don't have a business. And if you're listening and you don't know if you have a business or not, think of it this way. If you removed yourself from your business for a month, what would happen? Would it continue chugging along and closings would happen and revenue would be created? Or would everything just fall apart? That's how you know if you have a business or not. So what would a CEO do? What would a healthy person do? What would a confident person do? I love that, man. And so just by making that simple shift, which has taken some, I'm sure there's been some uncomfortable moments, some hard decisions. Maybe you're hungry and you're like, fuck, I really want to eat, but I know that I shouldn't in this situation. So you're making it's one of those decisions, right? The slight edge, easy to do, easy not to do. And it's discipline, it's willpower. How much of this is driven by desire? Where does desire factor into this? Because discipline's not everything, right? If you don't have a desire to be a certain way or to do a certain thing or to reach a certain level, you're never going to freaking get there. So talk about your desire and how you've wired that.
Yeah, you gotta have that desire, and you gotta have that being who you want to become, and you gotta see that. And I think, well, I'll get to a point here in a second around the desire, but real quick, I think one thing that leads to it is when it was the moment for me. I was at a gas station. I was driving up to Kentucky for the Real Estate Distilled Conference, and healthy people fast, right? So I'm fasting in the morning, and now I'm on the road for 7 hours, and I'm getting hungry. It's like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, okay, enough of this fasting. I'm hungry, right? And I'm at a gas station filling up the truck, and I'm in the convenience store now looking for something healthy, right? What would healthy people eat? So I'm in the gas station and I'm starving, right? I haven't eaten all day, and I'm like, what do healthy people eat? And as I'm looking, this big burly guy with like greasy overalls and just a big massive guy with a 64-ounce big gulp comes walking by me with whatever was in his cup, sugar water, whatever it was. And he comes walking by me, and that's when it dawned on me. Healthy people don't eat at gas stations. And I just said it. I said it. I think I may have even said it out loud. I'm like, healthy people don't eat here. I don't see any marathon runners in the snack aisle, or, healthy people don't eat here. And it dawned on me, and that's when it snapped in, right? So your desire becomes part of like who you're designing, right? Like what we're teaching is you got to design your new you, right? Like, who is the newest version of you, and who are you stepping into? And you got to have that vision, and that's what leads with the desire. But in order to get there, you got to dream with the lid off, right? Because you've got this vision, but then you're going to put this upper limit on it, right? And this self-sabotage. So step number 2 is to dream with the lid off. And then you got these limiting beliefs that are just going to pull you down and pull you back. So you got to get rid of these limiting beliefs. Well, how do you get rid of these limiting beliefs? Well, every belief that you have is attached to a past memory. And once you understand that, and once you see that every bit of behavior that you have, or when somebody says something to you and you get offended by it, or when you have a belief that I just don't look at it the same way as them, and you have that belief, all of that is from a past memory. It's data that's been stored on your subconscious, and you can go back to that data and you can rewrite it. And that's the powerful thing. So when you have that desire that we're talking about, right, and you got this, and you know where you want to go, but then there's all these beliefs that are preventing you from getting there. Those are the beliefs that you got to rewire. And then once you get rid of those limiting beliefs, and to talk more about these limiting beliefs too, a lot of people don't think that they can rewrite them. And the amazing thing is that you can. These past memories are only yours. Nobody else has access to them. You have all of the information, and you can go back to those memories and you can rewrite them. And you can go back to that memory that, let's just say it's the first time you were rejected, right? Like let's say Dustin, let's say you're rejected on the playground. You were 12 years old and you went up to this cute girl and you were excited and you went up to her and said her you liked her, and she made fun of you and ran off, right? And that was the first time you were rejected, right? Now, you still have that memory, right? And that memory still is there. You still remember that time being rejected. But I bet you haven't rewritten that. You haven't went back and said, Dustin, 12 years old, man, don't worry about it. You're going to go on. You're going to meet the most amazing woman ever. You're going to get married. You're going to have 2 beautiful kids. You're going to live with a white house, picket fence, whatever you want to say, right? Like, you would rewrite that memory, wouldn't you? And then that you start to look at that rejection a little bit differently. And see, when you do this, when you go back and you rewrite these past memories, it unlocks you so that desire just comes alive in you. And that's what happened for me. Like, I'm a guy that has struggled with weight loss, his entire life, my entire life. I was the chubby kid. I was always the big boy, right? Like, I went to the husky section, right? I lived in that life my entire life. It's all I know. So it's uncomfortable for me. So what I would do is I would cover it up with humor. I would cover it like I can do a Chris Farley, right? I would just turn it into Chris Farley.
You do a great Chris Farley.
There you go. Best. Yes. Yep. But see, I cover all that up. I cover all those wounds up. Right. And now I'm going back and I'm rewriting all of those. And instead of beating myself up, I'm building myself up. and I'm looking at the opportunities, and I'm looking for areas that, like, is this what healthy people do? Is this what healthy people do? And if healthy people do it, then I'm doing it, right? Like there's so many things that I haven't done physically that I'm so excited to do. I'm envisioning it, and I'm stepping, like, I want to surf someday. I want to kayak someday. I'm a little top heavy, so the kayaking has never worked for me. I've never mountain biked Dustin, that time we were in Atlanta together, you guys climbed up a big hill. I didn't participate at all. Like, all of those things, man, that's all things that have gotten in my way, and they're not getting in my way anymore. And
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
We hear all the time, fake it till you make it. I think we interpret that all fucked up. So yeah. I think what it really means is exactly what you're describing, right? Act as if, fake it till you make it. So do the things that the type of person you want to become would do. Yep. That's faking it till you make it.
Yep.
But not just pretending or renting a Lambo and posting it on Instagram and saying, look, I'm successful. That's stupid.
That's stupid. Yep.
It's insane, actually.
Yep.
But what you're describing is faking it till you make it. It's acting as if. And it's not. When I was starting on my personal development journey, I thought that just affirmations in the mirror I thought that was it. No, they're helpful. I'm not against saying positive things about yourself in the mirror, saying, I am this, I am that, I am powerful, I'm confident, I am wealthy, or whatever. But when you say things that are not currently true, you know you're full of shit. So part of it can also sabotage you a little bit, because you're like, I'm lying to myself. Whereas it's not really, it's not so much that you have to convince yourself you are that person. You just need to start doing the things that person would do. If you want to be wealthy, what would a wealthy person do right now? If you have $10,000 sitting in front of you, what would a wealthy person do with it?
Yes.
When you ask yourself that questions like that, first off, your brain actually works instead of shutting down, right? Like Rich Dad Poor Dad taught me, when you say you can't afford it, that is the lazy way out. That just shuts off all thinking, and you're just like, oh, done. Instead of saying I can't afford it, you say, how can I afford it? And that's when you start to think, and then you make shit happen. You spoke earlier before we started recording. We were talking about an event you went to that you, in hindsight, you couldn't really afford, but you did it anyways, right?
Yep.
I've done that before too, more than once, and it's what's required, right? When you have all these people that are successful saying you need a coach, you need to get to events, you need to do this, you need to be healthy, you need to exercise. It's really not difficult to do those things when you break it down to like the micro moments, the micro decisions. If you're looking at the entire journey, like, and I'm really curious, how much of this, respond to this however you want, but when you were like, hey, I need to lose weight, or I want to become healthy, were you looking at like, I need to drop 100 pounds? Like, that's the goal? Or were you just like, let's take one decision at a time, compound it over time, and then eventually you got the results that you were seeking because the actions fueled them? Is that kind of how it worked for you?
Yeah, in a way, really, it started with just because I realized the lie that I've been living. I realized the confirmation bias, the biases that I've been confirming over and over and over about myself, and just how much I believed that lie. And I really believed that I was meant to be big, that God designed me to be big, and that I was just going to be big, and I was going to accept that. And I was just going to be big. I don't know why I accepted that in my brain, but I just got to the place where I was so tired and so exhausted that I just had gotten there. And when I realized that lie, and I realized that I could get myself out of that prison just by changing my thoughts, just by looking at who I wanted to become, and by being what I wanted to become. And I just started stepping into that. And I don't even know how I saw it, other than I just thought I saw the lie. Like, once you see the lie, you want to go from it, right? And so I went from the lie, but in order to run away from the lie, I had to remove the limiting beliefs. And that's where I had to go back and rewrite memories. And I had to go back to reasons to, why do I believe that about myself? And what is it that I'm pushing up against? And then once I started to unlock that, man, I was just unstoppable. And you do become unstoppable. And here's the thing is we control our thoughts. So we sometimes think that thoughts get a hold of us. And see, right now in a challenging times like we're in right now, the challenges are getting really loud. And so it's really hard to focus on the opportunities. It's hard to focus on who you want to become when you got this whole mess over here that you're dealing with, right? And it's hard to have that mindset of being what I want to become and seeing where I want to go and taking the risk. We talked about, about going to events and taking the risk, right? Like it's scary to jump out and go to that event, right? And with that, you have all of these challenges that are so loud that you can't focus on the opportunities. You can't see the opportunities. And so once you begin to turn your head away from the challenges and put your attention on the opportunities, and you can quiet your mind long enough to see the opportunities. That's the other thing. A lot of us, man, we got so much noise going on inside our heads. We got so much stuff that we're worrying about. Real estate agents, it's the worst because you're always one step ahead of your client and you're always overthinking every bit of scenarios, everything, right? And so you're never in this place where you feel like you're in control. You're always out of control. You're scattered all over the place. So how do you quiet your mind when that's going on, right? And so once you begin to practice this, and this is where the affirmations come in, because you got to say things that you've got to affirm, right? That's what an affirmation is. So you got to believe it when you say it. And a lot of affirmations people don't believe right away, right? That's why it hurts. That's why, because it's your subconscious. Like, this is bullshit. I'm broke. Why am I saying that I'm rich? I'm broke, right? And so the subconscious just overpowers you and takes over. Well, we got to rewrite that subconscious. We gotta rewrite that. And so affirmations helps rewrite that. But I think the best thing to rewrite it is to go back and actually rewrite it. Go back to and talk to that 12-year-old boy and go back and rewrite that memory and say, man, you're fine, and build yourself up instead of beat yourself up.
Yes. So identifying root causes of limiting beliefs or beliefs that don't serve you, that's tricky, right? Something that I've learned through doing some of this work, or a technique that I've learned through doing some of this work, is once you catch yourself with saying something or thinking something that isn't serving you, a limiting belief or something else. Well, they're all limiting. If it doesn't serve you, it's limiting. So you ask, when did I decide that? When did I decide that it's a struggle? When did I decide that it was hard to be a real estate agent? When did I decide that I could only sell 3 homes a month? And when you ask, when did you decide, you start to think, okay, what could be at the root of this? The key is that people start, instead of seeing their the limiting beliefs as the problems, you have to see that those are symptoms of a deeper problem, of a deeper belief, of a deeper story, of a deeper programming that could be from when you were 4 years old or 10 years old or 14 or whatever. They're symptoms. Procrastination is not a problem. It is the symptom of a deeper one.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, so good. It's so
what
good.
Else have you,
exactly
what else have you had to deal with, man? Like,
yeah.
Through this journey. Well, let's go here. I imagine, I'm going out on a limb, and you and I have not discussed this prior. I imagine your income is now greater than it was a year ago or whatever, when you did not have these habits, when you did not have the discipline. Is that true?
Yes, for sure. And I can tell you exactly how too. I can tell
Please
you exactly how, because it all comes down to focusing on opportunities instead of challenges. And for the most of my life, and I'm going to go back to the recession. All right. 2007, 2008, my wife and I lost $264,000. I leveraged to the hilt, and I had 11 properties and all of them collapsed, and I had to downsize. I should have done short sales and foreclosures and all that and bankruptcy. And I didn't. I just sold it all and stacked all the debt up and agreed to pay $264,000 back plus interest over a long time. All right. So we got this paid off. Right. So with all of this, the debt went away. All of that went away. But the thing that didn't go away is the wound and the challenge from the recession. I kept myself in a prison for years over this. I didn't take any chances. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't live. I lived in a prison trying to pay all this debt back. And I had all these people watching me, right? And I wanted to pay it all back. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting and it's traumatic. And I didn't realize the trauma that the recession caused on me, that I didn't realize all that. So I went back and I started rewriting all of those memories and really digging myself out of that junk that was there, right? And with that, I started to realize that all of my energy was going to my challenges, and my income was going to stay the same because I'm doing what I'm doing, but then I'm focusing on my challenges, right? And I'm not focusing on opportunities. I'm not focusing on growth. I was too afraid of growth. I didn't want to invest anymore. I didn't want to take any more risk. I was wounded, right?
Right.
So and so when I began to unlock that, that's when I started to see that my thinking really has everything to do with this. And if you're somebody that, like me, that worries a lot, like you just have these worry thoughts, and you just the day is over and you're replaying the day and you're just rethinking and you're thinking. The emotional guidance scale is what turned this around for me. Because the emotional guidance scale is all the negative. It's got a list of negative emotions and a list of positive emotions. And what a lot of us do is our thoughts that fire together, wire together. So if we have this negative thought, now all of a sudden we got more negative thoughts and more negative thoughts. And in order to turn that around, you have to quiet the mind and you have to balance out and get into neutral. And then you go up positive and you start to think of positive things. And so with all of this, if you're in this spot, like the day-to-day, like overall arching, you should think positively. We all know that, right? But how do we do that? How do we do that in the individual moments? And so what I started practicing, and I learned this from Joel Dispenza and a few others, is just your thoughts that fire together, wire together, right? And so I thought, man, if I got a negative thought, I'm going to have another negative thought and another negative thought and another negative thought. So I got to turn that around. I got to quiet my mind. How do I quiet my mind? So I tried to quiet my mind. I really couldn't do it. And then I found this Louise Hay affirmation. She's an old Louise Hay. She's amazing. If you haven't heard her, check her out. She passed away when she was 93 years old and taught up to the day she died. She's just an amazing woman. And Louise Hay has an affirmation that says, all is well. Everything is working out for my greater good. From this situation, only good is going to come, and I am safe. So what I started practicing is when I had these things thrown at me that would otherwise throw me off and give me all these negative thoughts, I said, how can I quiet my mind? So I just started saying, all is well. Everything is working out for my greater good. From the situation, only good is going to come. And it quiets my mind. And I also realized that if I said the word thank you and isn't it wonderful, was a couple others that would quiet my mind. So I just sometimes say, thank you. Isn't it wonderful? Thank you. And like, I'm worried about something, like whatever happened, something's going on and I'm worried about it. If I quiet my mind, thank you. Isn't it wonderful? And see, the word thank you is that positive upflow. It's that positive, right? So it's in a positive. Gratitude is one of the words in the positive flow in the emotional guidance scale. So if I can quiet my mind long enough to say thank you and think of gratitude and quiet my mind, think it. And all of a sudden I'm back in that positive flow. And when you're in that positive flow, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable. And it's what every Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, they all teach it. They all teach the same thing.
Yes.
It's all the same exact thing. And all it is, right. and it's free. This is free. Like, you just got to practice it. You got to just practice it. But a lot of people that practice it can't quiet their mind long enough because their subconscious tells them it's silly. This doesn't work. You've tried this before and it doesn't work. What are you doing? You're a fool, right? And you beat yourself up instead of build yourself up, and then you're right back into the same routine. And so you got to.
And they're doing the same shit with the same people. They're stuck in the same environment.
Right. Right.
I invest $30,000 a year to be part of a mastermind with people who are way ahead of me in the journey of business and finance. Way ahead. Yeah. There's a couple billionaires in there, and there's a handful of people worth hundreds of millions. And like, I'm one of the poorest people in the room, and I love it.
Yes.
Because, well, here's why I thought of that too. All the stuff you're talking about, if you're listening and you're thinking, we're kind of getting out there now, like this is getting a little woo-woo. Yeah. I promise you, the people that you're trying to be do this shit.
Yep.
I also, when I was the most broke, when I was struggling the most, when I was the most unhappy, when I was filled with scarcity the most, when my relationships were the weakest, I was too worried about what I thought was cool. Oh, I can't say that shit out loud to myself in the mirror because I'd feel weird. That's you're just worried about looking hokey or, whatever.
Yep.
When I invest 30 grand a year to go to these masterminds, you know what these super wealthy people in the room are talking about? This shit. This exact stuff. Meditating. Your thoughts. What you think about all day long is what you become. Yes, there's some strategy and some tactics and, talking shop. But the foundation, they all understand that the foundation of any success that you want to have, any success that's possible, starts with your mind, starts with your thinking. And fitness is a big part of it too, which has to do with your thinking, of course. So it's so important that as you are going down this journey that you get around other people who are further ahead than you. If you're stuck trying to do this by yourself and everyone around you in your environment, whether that's your family or your friends or your coworkers, your neighbors, whoever, if they are all not further ahead, it's like crabs in a bucket. Consciously or not, they're going to pull you back to where they're at.
Right.
They just are. So you have to put yourself in a better situation, whether that's joining a coaching group where you're around others, hiring a coach, going to masterminds, moving. We bought a house that really pushed some of my limiting beliefs. We bought a house this last year, and the neighborhood we're in, the neighborhood before, not a great place. Not a great place. The one we're in now, our neighbors have McLarens and Lamborghinis and run businesses and make millions of dollars a year. And it's not just about the material things. They are present with their kids. They are doing cool shit. When I'm out there talking to the neighbors, we're talking about like productive stuff like exercise, nutrition. These are the types of conversations that I now have with my neighbors. Do you think that that's going to benefit me financially? Well, guess what? Since basically I bought $1 million house, when I didn't think that I could do that, my income has gone up dramatically because of the environment and because of the investment, because of the, if you want to kill scarcity, make a large investment that you know is going to benefit you.
Yes.
That kills scarcity pretty quick, but it stretches you, right?
Yeah. And the feeling of wealth produces wealth. Right? The feeling of wealth produces wealth. So you're just going to produce more and more because you're focused on it, right? Like it's where your attention is and that's what expands. So it keeps going that way. And if you want more challenges, then just keep focusing on your challenges. You'll get more challenges. You're only magnifying your misery, right? So just keep focusing on your challenges. You're going to get more of them. So Neil, I'm not supposed to focus on my challenges. Well, focus on what you can control and then let the rest of it go. And that's what most of us don't do. We focus on what we control, and then we focus on everything else that we think we can control, and it doesn't lead us to anywhere other than focusing on the problem for way too long. Shift your attention away from that as quick as you possibly can and get it back on the opportunities. And that's what wealthy people do.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Wealthy, successful, healthy, happy people are in control. Mm-hmm. They take responsibility, and they're in control. Mm-hmm. So just the other night, like this is something that I'm consciously aware of, right? The other night, my wife and I started watching a new show. We're watching The Last of Us on HBO, this end of the world shit, where like this pandemic ends, destroys the world. And the beginning of it is one of those like collapse of society scenes. That shit makes me so anxious. First off, because I think I know that how feasible that is, that could happen, and it would probably look like that. It gives me anxiety. And part of that is I know that I'm not as prepared as I should be if something like that were to happen. So, that is manifesting. So what did I do? Instead of just like, well, let's just keep watching, I turned it off. Yep. I turned it off. We just went and did something else that was positive that got me back on track. Otherwise, I would just continue to spiral into this anxiety and worst case scenario and bullshit. Yep. But I consciously noticed what was happening and removed myself from it. Talk about some situations where over the last year or so, during this journey of yours, where you caught yourself doing something that was not serving you and then corrected it.
Oh, this is so good too, because, I learned this from Gay Hendricks from the book, The Big Leap. And he talks about, how we think we have, our thoughts have a control on us, but we have a control on our thoughts, right? So somebody that struggles with anxiety or worry, they'll just say, oh, I just can't stop thinking about this. And it has a hold of me. Well, the truth is you have a hold on it. And if I were to bounce a tennis ball to you and you were to grab a hold of that tennis ball, Dustin, you could hold that tennis ball or you could bounce it right back to me, right? And that tennis ball represents our thoughts. So when you have a thought, you could sit and hold on to it all you want and think about it more and more and more, or you can release it. And so that's what I look at my thoughts now. When I have a negative thought, and we call it no stinking thinking, right? So I don't want any stinking thinking. So I have this thought that comes at me, and I'm like, that's a negative thought, because that negative thought's going to wire into another negative thought. And the next thing you know, I'm down in the spiral. I'm down in the negative. I'm out of the zone. I've clicked out. I'm negative. I'm stinking thinking. Nothing's working. Everything's frustrating. If my wife says something to me wrong, I'm going to fight with her. Right? It's this nonstop. So if you can click out of that, and you can get back into the positive zone, when that happens, like you're able to, like, you realize how in control of your thoughts you are. You realize it, and these thoughts don't have a hold of you anymore. And then you can click out and you can change these thoughts. And I never realized that before. I thought I had an anxiety issue. I thought I had problems. I thought these negative issues, these negative thoughts that I have going through my head, these are mine. I got these wounds. I got these things that happened to me. Yeah, you're going to have these thoughts from all of that, right? And I didn't realize that I could just release them, that I could say goodbye to them. And in the moment, right? Like when I'm alone and it's just me and my thoughts, what am I doing with my thoughts? See, and if you're bored, the first negative emotion on the emotional guidance scale is boredom. So if you're bored, if you're just sitting there in the end of the day and you're bored and you pick up your phone, that's the one thing I do when I'm bored. I pick up my phone and I start scrolling social media. Well, do you think being bored, that's going to pull you into the negative? And then when you come out of social media, I know for me, I usually come out feeling defeated, feeling that I'm not enough. I didn't do enough, right? So now I'm bored and now I'm full of shame and full of guilt and full of all these, I'm just beating myself up. Right. And then a lot of us do this right before we go to bed. So we're just pulling ourselves down into the negative, and it's all a distraction. And the world wants us to be distracted, right? They want us to be distracted so that we can't work on ourselves, that we can't better ourselves. They want us to part of the system, right? So get out of that. Change that. I love how you just turn that show off, right? I don't need this. What am I feeding my brain with? I don't need it. Just like you choose not to eat the pizza. It's the same way. What are you putting in your head? And that's going to live on in your head and program your subconscious brain. So be aware of it. Like, I have completely pulled off of social media as much as I possibly can, with still being in business, but I'm not a consumer anymore. I've gotten away from that. I've pulled back. I used to be a huge baseball fan and watch every baseball game. I forgot opening day was the other day. Like, I completely don't even care anymore.
Wow.
And like some of the other crazy things is I don't drink coffee anymore, because healthy people drink water first in the morning. They don't drink coffee. And I used to drink coffee the first thing. And I'm like, healthy people don't do this. What am I doing? I need to drink water. And then I started drinking water. That coffee just didn't even sound good to me anymore. So I stopped drinking coffee just by doing what healthy people do. Right. So a lot of this, you got to change your beliefs, change your thoughts, change your, there's just so much that you can rewrite, and you're in control of it all.
You really are. What's crazy to me, here's what I've seen happen in my life. Once you take control and you take responsibility, you start to attract certain information that serves you, right? You attract things that serve you instead of the opposite. So part of, like, anxiety and stress and all of that, part of it is physiological, right? Some of it is certain deficiencies of raw materials in our bodies, certain gene mutations. I didn't know any of this shit until I started to consciously want to learn this stuff. And one of the things, I put myself in the room at the Build conference, was that last summer, with Tony Robbins and Gary Brecka from 10X Health. And I learned about gene mutations and how 40% of the population has a gene mutation that makes you unable to process folic acid. and there's folic acid in pretty much all non-organic crap. And that can cause brain fog. It can cause ADHD. It can cause anxiety. It can cause all this stuff, right? And so I'm like, blood test. Should probably find this out. So I invested. It was like $600, had this blood test done, found out I have all these genetic mutations. And to solve that genetic break, it's like a $20 a month supplement from Amazon called methylfolate. And I cannot tell you how different I feel just by having come across that. Like, I invested to go to a business conference. I learned about genetic mutations. I invest in a blood test. I now know that my kids have at least half of that. And my wife, she's had a blood test as well. So like, we know the kids need methylfolate so that their vitamins have that now. My son used to be super like all over the place, and now he's much more focused just because of a vitamin. And you attract that stuff, right? I am Viome. I take these monthly supplements through Viome that like probiotics and all this stuff that I used to not really think about. And when you decide and you take responsibility, I just want to be healthy. I want to be optimized. I want to be functioning at my highest and best self. So now I look for and I attract different things that can help me. So it's not all I'm just going to convince myself. Like, no, you start the journey and then you attract information and people and resources, and you're like, oh my gosh, this blood test and this thing and these vitamins and these supplements. And pretty soon you're just a completely different person. You're an upgraded version of yourself. So that works in business as well. You decide that you're going to take responsibility for where you're at financially, and you start to attract the right people. You start to attract the right clients, the right information. That's just how it works.
Yep. Oh, it's so true. And I've seen this too. I've just seen this in like all of the agents that I've coached. I just completed my 10,000 hour of coaching one-on-one. I know
Holy shit.
I know it sounds crazy, but
it's a lot.
I know. But in that, I get to see the agents that break through. Right. And I see the agents, if I get them a clear plan that's congruent to them and then help them stay consistent, that's the biggest part of it. Or that's a big part of it. But the biggest part of it is their mindset. If I can keep them in a positive flow where they're constantly looking for the opportunities and they're constantly on the front and they're not focusing on their challenges and they're looking for the opportunities, I get them to break through. And then if I can get them to quiet their mind and control their thoughts, I can get them even to break through even more. And what I constantly would see is the agents that not only have a clear plan that's congruent to them and they stay consistent, but the agents that have the mindset to constantly be looking for the opportunities and staying away from the challenges. Like, they have challenges. When the challenges come, they address the challenge, they do what they need to do, and then they move on. And they stay in that positive flow, and they don't overthink. That's our biggest problem as agents, is we got so many things to think about, and we overthink all the time, and we drive ourselves crazy.
Yeah. And it can be a complex business, right? But this is another reason why I think it makes a lot of sense to start acting like a business owner and make business decisions rather than trying to do literally everything your damn self. But
right,
dude, I didn't know that I could do it any other way until I started to be around people who did. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I know that. So I believe going to events has helped me a lot. Networking with other agents helped me a lot. Every time I go to a live in-person mastermind training, whatever, it's just so beneficial in so many ways. The ROI is infinite, and man, I wish more agents would do that stuff. Like, anyone who's listening, if they've been listening this deep into the podcast, they're obviously committed to growth. This is not super entertaining stuff here, at least not this episode.
Right.
It's wildly beneficial. So anyone who's still listening is obviously committed to growth, but their actions also are they're coming up short, right? You've been doing some events. Like, I'm honored that you asked me to speak and present at your Agent Rise Summit coming up here in 2 months in May.
Yes, it's coming quick. It's coming quick.
So, okay, let's talk about that for a second, because getting in rooms like that where other people are also trying to grow, they're also trying to reprogram their thoughts, they're also trying to get ahead. So powerful, so powerful. So, what do people need to know about Agent Rice Summit?
Yeah, the vision that I had with it is that when you go to a conference, you know, the speakers are up on the stage and they give you all the amazing, great advice, and you know they tell you all the things that you should be doing, and you write down this huge list of all the things you should be doing, and then you go home and you shit all over yourself, right? And you don't get them done because you don't really have a clear plan. And I thought, what if the conference focuses on you instead of you focusing on the conference? And what if the conference helps you develop that clear plan that's congruent to you, that feels right? It's your plan. Like, I'm excited about this plan, and then shows you the steps to actually be able to go do that. And if we just work on our businesses and not work on our minds, then we're going to be lopsided. Because I can teach people how to crush it in this business all day long. And a lot of them, if I did that and I didn't work on their mind, they're gonna be burnt out in no time, and they're not gonna build a business that they love. And my whole thing is to help agents build a business that they love. And I think in order to do that, you've got to be well in the mind. You've got to have a peace of mind about you, because when you have peace of mind, you have peace in your heart, your peace in your business, peace in your relationships, your family. Everything changes. And you mentioned earlier too that, you know, they're present with their kids. That's peace of mind. That's peace of mind. You've got to find that. You've got to have peace of mind. And so I'm going to really focus on this summit. Is my heart is behind this, is to help agents, you know, dream with the lid off, so that they can just dream with the lid off. Like, what is it that like, for me, like, the biggest thing with dreaming the lid off is according to what I wanted, what my life, what's the new you? Who do I want to be? And I think a lot of us are dreaming according to false ideals. But if you start to dream, like Louise Hay calls it her inner ding, like, what is it that excites you? The Gap in the Gain calls it your success criteria, your self-determined success criteria. Some call it your life's compass, right? Like, what is that? What is it that you're going for? And we're going to do that on day number 1. We're going to design our new yous. And then we're going to remove the limiting beliefs, because we all have these limiting beliefs that just tell us we can't do that. Like, I remember the first time I heard somebody said that they were going to live a life by design. And I thought, psh, good, that sounds really good for you. But man, that doesn't work for me, because you don't know what I've got. You don't know my challenges. I got this, and this. I can't live a life by design, right? And then I started doing it. And now I've been doing it for 8 years. And I'm telling you, you can live a life by design. Can you not? Right? Yes.
I'd say that the life I'm living is by design. Now, I had to take a pay cut for a period of time.
Yes.
You did the same, right?
Yes.
Because you used to be the CEO of your brokerage, and then you stepped down. You left. You sold all your shit.
Right.
You went driving around the country. I imagine you made a little bit less money for a period of time, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. We were talking about that too. Remember in 2017, we did that Salt Lake Mastermind, or Park City. We got up at Park City, and I was scared out of my mind to go to that, because I was scraping by. I had just stepped down from the role, and I had just gotten back into selling real estate. I was launching Agent Rise. I was a mess, man, and I was just churning dollars, just trying to make it happen, you know. And then, hey, let's all get together in Park City. This sounds great. I'm like, no, there's no way. And I don't remember it, but I remember you helped me in some way, and I got there, and it was a turning point in my career. It opened my eyes to, at the time we were talking so much about media, and it opened my eyes in so many different ways, and it gave me clarity, getting in community. And here's a guy that coaches this, right? I'm a coach, and getting in community and letting myself get outside of the bottle, right? Because in our lives, we're inside the bottle all day long, right? We don't see it any other way. But when you get in a community, you can get outside the bottle, and you can start to see it in another way, because you're with people that see it another way, right? And they unlock you. And that's what I got when I went to Salt Lake. And I haven't stopped going to events since then, because I received that power. And that's what I want at this Agent Rise Summit. And I know that there's people that I'm hearing from people. They want to come, but they're scared. They don't have it. It's hard right now. Too many challenges. I don't know how I'm going to get there. But I'm telling you, if you make it, It's going to be, it's the life-changing things that happen at events. And the way I'm setting this event up, we're going to have a lot of it, and I cannot wait.
Leave it, man. I'm so damn excited. I'm excited to participate myself and to go through this myself, because I know how impactful it can be, and I'm committed to make that happen. So give us the dates real quick. Give us the website. Where can people find it? And then I want to talk a little bit more before we wrap up, because, man, I could talk to you for another hour. But where can people go get tickets?
Love it.
There's not like 800 people that are going, right? This isn't a conference.
No, 50. No, 50. 50 agents. 50 agents. Yep. I've got a room that's called the workshop, and it's a perfect room for this. Day number 1 is going to be focusing on the new you. Day number 2, I didn't even mention this. Day number 2, we're going to focus on your businesses. And I see 3 big opportunities right now in today's market. Like, one of them is a game changer. And I see these 3 opportunities, and the whole second day is focusing on these opportunities and how we infiltrate these into your business. And it's amazing. And it really, really is. And so, again, it's going to be May 21st to the 23rd, downtown Fort Myers. It's going to be all of the details on it are going to be at agentrisecoaching.com/summit. Again, agentrisecoaching.com/summit. And yeah, we only have 50 tickets. We already have, I think it's 28 or 29 are accounted for already. So we have a little bit over 20 tickets available. And once they're gone, they're gone. We can't fit any more into the room.
I love this so much. I love that it's a smaller, intimate setting, because that's where you can really have an impact. You can really get to know everyone else that's there. This isn't one of those things, just by the nature of the size of the room, this isn't one of those things where you go, you sit down in the back, and you're just spoken to. You're trained to the whole time, and you take notes and bounce. This isn't that.
No.
You're going to work. I'm going to work. So come join me. Come hang out with me and Neil in Fort Myers. I've never been there before, so I'm stoked about that. But come work with us on this together. I'm so excited. And knowing you probably dramatically underpriced it. But go to the website and check that out. You always underprice.
Yes.
You're the chronic underpricer.
Well, yeah. TJ calls me the people's coach. For some reason, I just do it that way. If I hang around you long enough, though, I'm going to change that, and I got to keep doing that.
That's good, man.
Right? That's community, right? You're always, yeah.
Because of choices we've made, we've aligned ourselves in business, where now I, a coach with a coaching program, am having another great coach with a great coaching program on my podcast. And I'm promoting the shit out of him. Because, first off, I know how good you are as a coach, Neil. I know how impactful you are. Sure. You're also a business partner. And so anyone that's like, oh, my God, just join our team. Just become a business partner of ours, for God's sakes. And then you get both of us as coaches and mentors and partners. So there's an option, just to plant a seed there.
Yes.
But more about the event. I could go in a trillion different directions right now because I'm fired up. But I love the structure of the summit. So day 1, you're working on the foundation. And then day 2, you're getting a little bit more tactical. Here's why that's brilliant. As a coach, through the Massive Agent Society, which we've been doing for about 5 years now, I've learned over the years that even with the same information, so we have all these members of the group that have access to the exact same information, the same coaching calls, the same tactics, the same information. Some of them go and make $1 million in a year. Some of them say it doesn't work and quit. And then everything in between. Why does that happen? It really confused me for a while. And then I realized the missing piece was their mind. They as people were in different places. They as people set different expectations for themselves. They as people just thought differently. So like Wayne in Charlotte that made $1 million his first year in the society, he's just like, oh, cool. Like, this is amazing. I'm just like, he was so close. He was closer to the goal line than someone who was maybe a brand new agent, or they're like, I'm going to dip my toes in and see if this works. And then they're like, well, I'm going to tweak what you say to do a little bit. Totally different approaches. Same information. They had access to the same program. One of them makes $1 million in a year. The others make nothing and quit and say it doesn't work. So you've got to focus on the roots before you can expect any fruits. And it's brilliant that you have that focus from day one. We're going to get uncomfortable. We're going to get busy. We're going to dive deep and do the deep work. And then here's some tactics versus the other way around. I freaking love it. That's genius.
Yes. And I think a lot of people, they beat themselves up so much that they blame themselves and they feel like there's something wrong with them. And they think they need more motivation and they need more excitement and they need more tactics and they just got to rewrite their past and they just got to look at their thoughts differently, and they got to be focusing on opportunities in their thoughts, positive thoughts, have those positive thoughts. And it just leads, even if you can just stop with the negative thoughts, just stop there. How can because before you put the car in drive, you got to put it in neutral, right? If it's going in reverse and you're going backwards, you can't go from reverse to drive. Otherwise you'll drop the transmission, right? And I'm no car guy, but I know that much, right? So in order for that car to stop going in reverse, you got to get it into neutral. So focus that, get your thoughts into neutral, just get out of that negative, and then watch what you say. I mean, a lot of us, if we just watch our words, a lot of us condemn money. A lot of us condemn the bills that we have to pay, and you're condemning the same money you want. What are you doing, right? And how can you be poor when God's just made us so rich and there's so much abundance? And a lot of us just are so wrapped up in our negative thoughts and our challenges that we don't even see it. And that's why, to me, you can take the same person, the same information, and one man can go make $1 million with it, and another man can be broke with it. And it's really like, what are you deciding? What are you deciding? And you can do it. And I think the other thing too is, I thought all of this was hard work. I want to speak to the person that doesn't do anything for their mindset right now. I don't know if you'd be listening this late in the podcast, but if you are, like, it does matter, and you are in control. And I thought for years that I wasn't. And I'm a positive guy. I mean, I say be the reason somebody smiles at the end of every one of my episodes. I'm always talking about being positive. But I'm telling you, that was a show. I just would say that because I knew that's what would impact people, and I needed to put that good energy out there, right? But deep down, man, inside my thoughts were not the same. They're too negative. And if I look back at my years, in my growth years, where, I mean, as a real estate agent, where I was selling 75 to 100 homes a year, I was always focused on the opportunities. Always. Where's the next opportunity? Where like right now, I'm excited where this market's at. There's opportunities, and most people don't see the opportunities, and we do. And so we're seeing them, and I'm excited about it, and there's growth behind it. And then as soon as this shifts, there's going to be another opportunity. And so I'm busy all day long looking for opportunities. Meanwhile, there's a lot of people out there fighting all their challenges. And so, I know I've said that 100 times in the show, but I mean, that's the difference maker for that agent. That, come on, let's go. It's in your thoughts. You can do it. You're in control. You're the only one in control of your thoughts. Nobody else is. You got this.
They just need someone to coach them. They just need someone who will hold them accountable, or that they feel accountable to. That's another beautiful thing that just makes having a coach so necessary for everybody. Tiger Woods has a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. Look, the best have coaches. Yep. You need one, and it's because you feel accountable to them. When you know that you're going to be meeting with your coach at 3 p.m. and you need to have X, Y, and Z done because you said you would, you're going to do that shit. But if it's just on you, it's very easy to be like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. And it's crazy. Neil, I'm so stoked to see your new digs, Fort Myers, and check out the west coast of Florida. That's pretty cool. I've been to Tampa, but that's it on the west coast. I'm really excited, man. So again, I invite everyone listening, grab one of those last few tickets, a couple dozen or so that's left, and join us. Come work with us in Fort Myers in May. Thank you for putting the event together. I think it's badass.
I appreciate it, brother. It's a big leap for me too, because when you put an event on, it's a little scary. But again, it's that upper limit. You run into that upper limit and you bump into it, and I'm breaking through that. I'm designing my life, and this is part of it. And bringing agents together. This is a vision that was put on my heart 2 years ago. Bringing agents together into Fort Myers, and we survived a hurricane here, and rebuilding from that, and it's just like keep evolving, keep going. And that's the thing too is. When you quiet your mind, you'll start to see how you're always advancing, right? And even when you don't feel like you're advancing, you are. And that's, you quiet the mind to be able to see that. And I feel like in my own journey getting to the summit is I'm advancing. I'm just slowly advancing. And I want to see that same thing for everybody that comes.
You're the man. Neil, appreciate it so much. AgentRiseCoaching.com/summit.
You got it. You got it. I can't wait to see you guys there.
Neil, we will have your social media handles, your website, all the stuff. If you're listening to the podcast, it's in the show notes. If you are watching on YouTube, it's in the description. So make sure you go follow Neil and check him out, because I believe he's one of the best coaches in real estate who's actually done the work. Like, he's sold over 1,000 homes himself. He's sold 100 homes in a year himself. Like, he's done this stuff. He's been the CEO of a brokerage, and now he's running a team from afar, out of production, has a team that, he now has leverage. He now has a business. And you spend all day with your kids, don't you? All day with your family?
Yeah, I wish. I want to spend more. I spend almost all my days coaching agents one-on-one. but I have a ton of free time now. I'm living a life by design. I mean, really, I truly am. And you can do it too. I'm nobody special. And here's the thing. You're already doing it. You're already living a life by design, but some of us just don't do it with intention. And that's the thing.
Yeah, everyone's living a life by design. They just don't realize they designed it this way.
Right.
Dude, thank you so much. So honored to have you as a friend and a business partner.
Likewise.
And thanks for coming back on the show.
Likewise. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you and all the Massive Agent listeners. I appreciate you, my friend. Can't wait. It's going to be here soon.
Thank you so much for listening today. Make sure that you claim your spot for the Agent Rise Summit. And please go over to massivegiving.com. The Massive Agent Society, yes, the sale's ending soon. I want you to make that investment for yourself. If you are trying to decide between an investment here and an investment there, please go to massivegiving.com and donate there. Donate to LLS. Donate to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, because it is a cause so much bigger than us. And I believe that by giving more, we're actually opening the door to receive more. Make sure you start there, massivegiving.com. Help us as the Massive Agent community raise $100,000 by June 2nd for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Big goal, but damn it, big goals are worth setting, and they're absolutely achievable if you help. Appreciate you so much for listening. Share this episode with someone who you think would find value. If anything resonated with you within this episode, please share it with an agent who needs to hear it. That helps us grow, and it helps the other agents who don't know about this show yet. It helps them grow as well. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another banger of an episode on the Massive Agent Podcast. Take care.